The Squeegee collaborative plan unveiled.
Earn and learn, earn and learn, earn and learn.
Broad promises from training programs to enforcement zones.
How will you ensure that the people who are involved in these training programs don't go back out and squeegee?
But few specifics given. Fox 45 News breaks down the plan and pushes for answers.
So you don't mind the mayor trying to?
No, I don't mind it.
The reaction from Squeegee kids, and we make your voices heard. Plus, you vote for term limits. Now the city council is planning on reducing the time it takes to get their own pension. Why first responders say it's not fair, and the new voice standing up for them.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. We finally know the results of Mayor Brandon Scott's Squeegee Collaborative, 4 months after it was created.
And now Fox 45 News is examining all 18 recommendations. And here are the big 3 takeaways. Squeegee kids will be banned from 6 major intersections. We're going to take a closer look at these so-called red zones in just a moment. Now, the enforcement starts on January 10th. Drivers, though, will also be held accountable for their behavior towards squeegee kids in these no squeegee zones. The city will also be offering support services. The mayor calling it Earn and Learn. Squeegee kids will be paid to participate in workforce training for up to a year.
We have team coverage tonight, starting with Mackenzie Frost and the unanswered questions about the Squeegee Collaborative plan. Mackenzie.
To uncertainty about enforcing the ban and squeegeeing in certain areas, to just how much money these kids will be paid to participate in training programs, there are still a lot of unanswered questions as Mayor Brandon Scott unveils his long-awaited Squeegee Collaborative plan. Just blocks away from one of the most problematic streets.
Now we're all together. Good afternoon, everyone.
Mayor Brandon Scott standing with dozens of others, announcing how he will address Baltimore's squeegee kid problem. Despite speaker after speaker lauding the laundry list of ideas.
I've never been more proud.
We are driven.
We just want the guidance.
Questions about how this plan will become reality are mounting, especially the ban itself.
We heard for months and months that the enforcement of the laws were unconstitutional and you were concerned, and now we're seeing it being enforced.
Before you come, Deputy, I'll just want to state for the record that we always enforce the law. We made arrests in the last couple of weeks.
Those arrests include squeegee kids who police say had a loaded handgun or robbed people by stealing their phones, sending themselves cash. Not cited or arrested for breaking the laws on the books banning this activity. The city's deputy solicitor, Ebony Thompson, reiterating the same things we've heard for months.
There can be laws that are constitutional as written, but then in practice unenforceable.
With the ban only in certain areas, it's plausible the kids will simply move to another intersection.
We're always talking about displacement and movement. That's why you heard us all talking about a working, movable plan.
Enforcement begins January 10th, starting with 2 warnings for kids who continue to squeegee before a citation is issued. But even Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison doesn't know what that citation will be issued for.
What's the citation that they would get?
We're now developing protocols, policy, training.
Another portion of the plan includes what the mayor calls
Earn and learn, earn and learn, earn and learn.
Despite the mayor's office originally confirming to Fox 45 News it would be a guaranteed income plan, the Scott administration now saying it's a way for the squeegee kids who commit to stop their activity to get workforce and educational training.
We ensure their success by not giving up on them. That's why they will be connected with a credible mentor, a navigator who will be there through the hard times.
Just to be clear, are there any mechanisms in place in this plan right now that would require them to go through another round of training, or is there anything in place that would say you can't be a part of this program because you said you were going to? We're giving you this training and we're giving you this assistance, but you're still going out on the corners.
Yes. So yes, that actually is explicitly called out in the plan.
Okay.
Where you have to commit to not squeegeeing. This is progressive discipline, right? And so when they do wrong, that's when we check them, and that's when we pull them back in. And so, yes, you might lose your incentive, but that doesn't mean that you're going to lose an opportunity.
The pages of the plan detail connecting the squeegee kids to community navigators who will hold them accountable. Who those navigators are remains unclear. Just another question in the growing list of uncertainties for the leaders inside City Hall and the partners who have been working on this plan for months, searching for a solution to the problem impacting the city and beyond. The city is putting an initial price tag on this program at $5 million, noting that could change, and it's still unclear just where that money will be coming from. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Now, in the 4 months that we've been waiting on the Squeegee Collaborative results, there have been a number of alarming incidents involving Squeegee kids. In late July, a driver sent Fox 45 News video of what seems to be Squeegee kids punching another driver at the corner of President and Lombard Streets. In August, Fox 45 News heard from a college student who says Squeegee kids attacked her at MLK Jr. Boulevard and Washington Boulevard. And days ago, police say a 19-year-old Squeegee kid sprayed a woman in the face at the intersection of 83 to North Avenue with some kind of solution. Police say they arrested that Squeegee kid after they found him with a loaded weapon.
Well, all of these incidents happen in the so-called disallowed zones laid out in the Squeegee Collaborative's report. They include Light in Conway, where we had the incident with Tim Reynolds being shot this summer, as well as the either side of downtown President Street by Little Italy and Harbor East, and the 395 MLK corridor, which is by the stadiums and the University of Maryland Medical Center. In Northeast and Northwest Baltimore, Sinclair Lane, Northern Parkway spots will be off limits to Squeegee kids in Mount Royal and North Avenue near 83.
Another incident that happened in a disallowed zone just days ago. A woman tells Fox 45 News 3 Squeegee kids running from police broke into her home. Keith Daniels spoke with that woman, as well as other drivers and a Squeegee kid, to get reaction about this new Squeegee Collaborative plan. Keith, what are you hearing?
Well, Kyle, we're live along President and Fayette Street, one of those designated no squeegee zone locations, and tonight new rules for this hotspot and others across the city. In Baltimore City, the long-awaited results of Mayor Brandon Scott's Squeegee Collaborative released, the city's latest move to resolve the decades-old issue of Squeegee kids.
I'm grateful. I'm concerned about their safety as well as the safety of others.
I admire their hustle, but I think it's a beautiful thing because they damaged my truck before.
Part of the plan includes banning squeegeeing along 6 major corridors, including MLK Boulevard near Washington Boulevard.
You can see them from here, yes.
Just a block away from Lauren Tompkins' home. Last week, police spotted 3 suspects who ran and broke into her basement. 3 Squeegee kids accused of robbing a Baltimore County couple stopped on MLK.
It was absolutely terrifying. I thought I was going to get shot through my floor.
Tonight, Tompkins' thoughts on the mayor's squeegeeing enforcement plan.
All we're doing is taking a problem and moving it to a different intersection, period. So that's not fair to the rest of the people who pay taxes in the city, is it? No.
Another of the no squeegee zones, Conway and Light Streets, where 19-year-old Khalil says he's been squeegeeing for the past 3 years, learning now his admitted hustle on this block is being shut down. Good thing, bad thing? What do you think of the plan? He's removing 6 no squeegee zones.
Good thing. Good thing.
And you're a squeegee person.
I think it's a good thing.
Why?
Because it's time for us to elevate above this. Once they put that in effect, it's really time for us to invest our money into what we do personally. Like if you're an entrepreneur, it's time for you to use the money that you make from out here to invest into your business so you can start having your own money to work for yourself.
Khalil's reaction, polar opposite to another Squeegee kid who told us last month what he thought would happen should Squeegee kids be forced from the streets.
So if y'all stop it, I'm gonna go back to robbing and killing, and there's gonna be a whole lot of crime. So I'm letting y'all know that now.
Well, the city, of course, hoping that does not happen. They say there are services in place in the plan to help those Squeegee kids in need. We're live tonight. Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
Keith, thank you. Well, this is far from the first time the city has tried programs aimed at connecting Squeegee kids with jobs. Some have worked. 1 year ago, the mayor announced a 90-day Squeegee action plan. Now, Fox 45 News spoke with Squeegee kids who say they make too much money, some of them, on the streets than they could ever in a job. One employer we talked with told us the kids he tried to help stop showing up for work.
The money that they would make wouldn't be enough to actually suffice for them going down there. You can make anywhere from like $200 to $500 in a day, you know what I mean?
On Fox 45 News at 4, we spoke with former city prosecutor Tharu Vignaraja about whether he thinks the Squeegee Collaborative's plan will work.
I do think an enforcement component is going to be critical. If they stick to that, you can expect some real results. If they waffle and ultimately fold, then we're just allowing these young kids to hold the city hostage. And the idea that paying them to not commit crimes, that obviously is an unfortunate aspect of it, but the mayor's committed to what the mayor's committed to.
Fox 45 News is demanding answers from City Council about today's Squeegee Collaborative report and how they will make sure this plan works. We sent several questions asking, do you agree with the recommendations from the Squeegee Collaborative? What will you do to ensure the city will follow through on the recommendations in the plan? How will the city ensure Squeegee kids receiving financial support stop squeegeeing? And what's the city's long-term plan to deal with squeegee kids? So far, the council has not responded to our questions. And we'd like you to join the conversation. Do you believe the squeegee plan will be fully implemented and work? So far, 98% of those who voted say no. You can vote right now by going to foxbaltimore.com.
And Fox 45 News will continue to follow the squeegee kid issue in Baltimore City. Our commitment to you is to hold city leaders accountable for the plan they announced today, as well as other problems facing Baltimore.
We are on weather alert as we have the remnants of Nicole, now a tropical depression, making the push through northern Florida into Georgia and eventually getting here already as far north as Roanoke, Virginia, getting the rain nearby. We'll see some localized downpours throughout the day tomorrow, including during the morning commute. Some even potentially damaging wind gusts that could be with some thunderstorms. Even an isolated spin-up tornado is not out of the question, as is typical with landfalling tropical systems. And again, tomorrow, the feature is the remnants of Nicole. And look, pretty much all day long, on and off, bands of heavy rain coming through. There could even be some stronger storms, especially later in the day. We're going to track everything for you on the Future Scan hour by hour. It's all coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.
Breaking news right now. The student loan forgiveness program has been struck down by a federal judge in Texas. The executive action taken by President Biden would have forgiven up to $10,000 loan debt and twice as much for those who received Pell Grants. It's not clear yet what appeals may come. The lawsuit was brought forward by two borrowers who did not qualify for the relief.
Next on Fox 45 News at 10, the City Council's reaction to term limits set up a vote on speeding up their own pension plans. A new person standing up for first responders who says it's not fair. The president issuing a new warning on inflation despite some good news. Tonight, a potential GOP majority in the House prepares to push back on President Biden's policies. And coming up at 10:30, police continue to search for the person who may be connected to the shooting of a 13-year-old. The new incentives to convince witnesses to provide tips. Well, Fox 45 News is hearing more opposition to a city council bill that would shorten the number of years of service needed for elected leaders to be eligible for a pension.
Yeah, that bill is on third reader right now. It's a response to ballot question K that voters passed on Tuesday to put term limits on some elected leaders.
Now, Fox 45's Riel Creighton joins us live now with a closer look at the growing criticism. Riel?
And Mary and Kai, there is some criticism. Leading that charge is the city's police union, but there are other council members who have raised concerns about the perception that it could be viewed as self-dealing.
Baltimore City Council one step closer to a final vote on a fast-track bill to decrease the number of years in service for Baltimore's elected officials to earn a pension, down from 12 to 8 years. Legislation sponsored by Council President Nick Mosby. He said contingent on Question K, the ballot measure establishing term limits for Baltimore's mayor, comptroller, and council members, Tuesday overwhelmingly approved by city voters.
I work hard in the city for my constituents.
The day before the election, Councilman Robert Stokes to Fox 45 on why he supports the measure.
I bring money to my constituents. Only job I have. I'm working hard. When I leave here, I want to have a pension. Everybody that works in this position should have access to a pension.
That sentiment, the bill, both drawing some criticism from Baltimore's police union, President Mike Mancuso, sharing two letters in the days following, calling it, quote, one of the most egregious privileged class moves in the history of Baltimore, referencing 12 years earlier when he says the city forced the fire and police pension system to move up from a 20 to a 25-year plan. A fiery subsequent letter saying, if you plan to move forward with this attempt at self-service, move police, fire, and pension back to where they were before they were stolen from us.
I can understand why the firefighters and police are so upset.
Former candidate for Baltimore Mayor Thiru Vignarajah also weighing in.
The message that the people of Baltimore are sending is not you're doing such a good job, you deserve an early retirement. It's you're doing such a bad job that we want you out of office as soon as possible.
Right now, out of the city's 381,000 workers, just above 3% currently earn a pension. Earlier this week, Council President Mosby telling Fox 45 what he says is driving the legislation.
It's about what you just said, making sure that the council members have pensions.
No, it's not. It's making sure that we have a retirement system that's tied to the voters' needs and wants. Mm-hmm. So right now,
so it's all about the voters and what they want.
It's about question K, right? So I want to be very clear about that. It's more than just about the voters. It's more than just about your boss that put hundreds of thousands of dollars to put it on the ballot.
But the bill does face one final vote before it heads to Mayor Brandon Scott's desk. The mayor so far has not publicly indicated whether or not he would sign off. Reporting live in Baltimore tonight, Riel Creighton, Fox 45 News.
Riel, thank you. Fox 45 News is questioning Councilman Stokes' claim that he brings money to his constituents. We sent questions to him yesterday asking, what bills have you sponsored and gotten adopted that impact your constituents directly? What money are you referring to when you say you bring money to your constituents? Councilman Stokes has not answered our questions. Fox 45 News has done extensive reporting on the pension plan, working its way through City Hall. You can find all of our reporting on our website, foxbaltimore.com, and we will continue to keep you updated in the days ahead.
We are tracking. We will soon feel some of the effects of the storm here in our area. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers tracking the potential for severe weather. Jonathan?
Yeah, and kind of interesting what really gave that tragic storm surge and that tragic amount of beach erosion there on the east coast of Florida. Not only did we have the past issue with what happened with Ian, but on top of that, this thing, it's a shadow of its former self now. It's just a tropical depression. But this had a wind field of over 400 miles of tropical storm force winds. That grabs a lot of water and pushes it towards the coastline. So even as a Category 1, it's, a big washing machine out there just kind of churning this stuff towards the coast. Thankfully, again, this now a tropical depression. Nicole continues to make the move up the southern central Appalachians overnight tonight into early tomorrow. And by the time the impacts reach us here, at least more than just clouds, this is going to be a shadow of its former hurricane self. It's just going to be a remnant low. But still, we do have a storm threat. With the track of this, we're going to be on the eastern, more unstable side. So there could be some heavy rain, some gusty winds. could even have a spin-up tornado. Not out of the question. And in terms of rainfall totals, we could see a ½ inch to 1.5 inches of rain. Some localized areas, especially as you get up towards the hills and the mountains out to our west, could have up to about 2 inches of rain. And then notice a period of winds tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening as the center gets closest, maybe up to about 30, 35 miles an hour in gusts. So we're tracking that as well. Plus, we're going to show you on the future scan exactly when you're going to see the heaviest rain and what commutes are going to be a mess. My Weather Authority forecast.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Remember, you can track severe storms when we're not on the air by downloading the free Fox 45 Weather Authority app. Go to your app store and search WBFF to get started.
Our team of meteorologists will be tracking the storm throughout the night. Wake up with Fox 45 Morning News. Meteorologist Jasmine Lomax will have everything you need to know before you head out the door.
Still ahead, Republicans are claiming some victories after the midterm elections, but Americans want a victory over inflation. Coming up, we'll tell you if that will happen and President Biden's promise to reach across the aisle.
Governor Hogan and Maryland's U.S. attorney form a task force to crack down on illegal guns and crime, how the plan works and where it will be targeted.
The Consumer Price Index shows inflation is easing and investors expecting rate hikes to slow as a result. The index rose 7.7% year over year last month, a tick lower than the expected 8%. However, just last week, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell warned a string of lower inflation readings is not a good way to determine whether more hikes are on the way.
If we were to over-tighten, we could then use our tools strongly to support the economy. Whereas if we don't get inflation under control because we don't tighten enough, now we're in a situation where inflation will become entrenched. It is very premature to be thinking about pausing. So people, when they hear lags, they think about a pause. It's very premature.
Well, in September, inflation was at a 40-year high of just over 8%. Ongoing rate increases done to stifle demand are fueling concerns about a potential recession over the next year.
Well, many voters called inflation their top concern in the midterm elections. Now a post-election admission by the president when it comes to Americans' big worry about how to pay their bills. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman has more.
As a large number of votes are still being tabulated, another set of numbers are also under close observation: the nation's economic struggles after midterm elections. The president just months ago signed the massive $400+ billion Inflation Reduction Act aimed at shrinking the deficit and America's everyday cost of living, with assurances it would work. But now that Election Day has passed, perhaps a more raw, open assessment.
What I can't do is I can't guarantee that we're going to be able to get rid of inflation.
For the past year, with Democrats trying to defend control of Congress, the administration has downplayed inflation's overall drag.
We have achieved a historic recovery through an extraordinarily unprecedented economic moment. The president has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine.
Treasury Secretary Yellen calling it transitory, implying temporary and short-term. Now saying the struggle could have a longer timeline, and Biden warns could become increasingly difficult post-election should Republicans wield more power.
I'm not going to support any Republican proposal that's going to make inflation worse. For example, the voters don't want to pay higher prescription costs for drugs, and I'm not going to walk away from the historic commitments we just made to take on the climate crisis.
While inflation eased more than expected in October, the significantly higher costs on food, energy, and gas still Americans' top concerns.
First thing we're going to do is make sure an economy that's strong.
With more Republicans heading to the Hill and it likely that Democrats are no longer the sole party in power, the president may be more frank in talking inflation and possibly, too, spreading the blame. At the Capitol Hill Bureau, Scott Thuman, Fox 45 News.
The current governor and the governor-elect meet in Annapolis, the latest on the transition from the Hogan administration to the Moore administration.
Before he leaves office, Governor Hogan lays out a new crime-fighting plan, the push to crack down on illegal guns flowing into Baltimore City.
Our top story, 10:30. Governor Hogan is working with Maryland U.S. Attorney Eric Barron to curb gun violence in Baltimore City.
It is a two-pronged approach, including a new feeder route task force utilizing officers from state police, Baltimore County Police, Anne Arundel, and the Transit Authority to monitor some major routes in and out of the city.
Yeah, you can see those routes as well on our map right here. They're highlighted. They include Maryland Route 140. That's Reisterstown Road, as many of you will note it. Route 26, which is known as Liberty Road, and Route 40, or Baltimore National Pike in Baltimore County. Also, Route 2, or often called Ritchie Highway in Anne Arundel County. U.S. Attorney Eric Barron is sending a strong message to criminals coming through Baltimore.
If you intend to drive with guns or drugs on a Maryland road, you better think twice.
Well, the governor and his U.S. attorney also announcing a plan to target people on parole and probation. It is called Knock and Talk. Police and social workers will make unannounced visits to people on parole and probation. Eric Barron says the goal is to help make sure those people are compliant, but enforcement will be used if necessary.
We hope and expect that you're in compliance, and we're there to help. But if you're not in compliance, you will be held accountable.
Governor Hogan also addressed the Squeegee Kid issue today. He weighed in on the Squeegee Collaborative with Mayor Brandon Scott that he announced today. The governor told Fox 45 News he's skeptical of the plan and thinks the city needs to be doing more to keep Squeegee Kids out of city intersections.
We need to get the people that are violating the law off the streets, and that's what we've been saying for several years now. I'm not sure what took so long, many months, for the Squeegee Collaborative to come up with, any of the stuff that they came up with, like, self, monitoring, and they're going to have designated areas, and they're going to pay them. It hinders, businesses are leaving in droves. The city population is dropping like crazy. The tax revenues are down.
Well, one of the cornerstones of the mayor's Squeegee Collaborative report is banning Squeegee Kids from 6 intersections, and they include Light and Conway streets, where Tim Reynolds was shot this summer, as well as either side of downtown President Street by Little Italy and Harbor East, the 395 corridor by MLK, which has the stadiums and the University of Maryland Medical Center, and northwest and northeast Baltimore, Sinclair Lane, Northern Parkway spots, along with Mount Royal, North Ave. That's right where you get on I-83. Those will be targeted.
Well, the enforcement starts January 10th with 2 warnings before a citation. Outreach workers from city schools will work to get Squeegee Kids back into class. And drivers will also be held accountable for their behavior toward Squeegee Kids in the disallowed zones. Now, the city will be offering support that the mayor calls Earn and Learn. It will pay Squeegee Kids to participate in workforce training for up to a year. Squeegee Kids will be required to commit to stop the practice to get the money, but it's not clear how that will be enforced.
Well, you can find complete coverage of the Squeegee Collaborative plan on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
A gun and drugs were found at Mervo High School today, and sources tell Fox 45 News the person with the gun and drugs was 18. This is the 6th gun found inside of a city school this year, and the 2nd found at Mervo. Well, the first gun at Mervo was recovered back in September. On the same day, 17-year-old Jeremiah Brogdon was shot and killed as classes were dismissed. A 17-year-old from another school is facing charges in that case.
Meanwhile, Baltimore police are asking for your help to identify a man captured in surveillance video in the shooting of a 13-year-old girl. That girl still fighting for her life tonight. Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell questioning Commissioner Harrison about the investigation.
The commissioner not yet calling this man a person of interest, but is asking for the public's help in identifying and locating him as this 13-year-old clings to life. Newly released images of a man the Baltimore Police Department is looking to identify as a 13-year-old girl clings to life at a nearby hospital. Today, officers returning to this liquor store near the corner of Fayette and Caroline Streets in southeast Baltimore, where early Monday evening, the commissioner says a suspect opened fire on a group of people surrounding a car in the parking lot. One of the bullets striking the 13-year-old girl in her head, the child, an innocent bystander. A man was also shot. His involvement, if any, unclear.
People have expressed that this is an area where drug sales often occur. Is that a motive in this shooting? And if so, what's being done to address that?
Well, it's unknown what the motive is. And so that's what detectives are working on in their investigation right now.
Commissioner Michael Harrison detailing the motive remains under investigation. people fed up over the violence.
People are angry, people are scared, but they're frustrated also.
And looking for more to be done. The commissioner pleading for the public to speak up and help them identify this man.
Are you able to take it a step further and call him a person of interest at this point?
Well, we are, number one, glad that we have that image. What we need is for anyone who recognizes him to please call us right away. We have not yet identified who he is officially. That's why it's so important for the community to give us a call Crime Stoppers anonymously.
Police confirm the 13-year-old girl remains in critical condition at an area hospital. Anyone with any information on this case is asked to call police. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Well, Fox 45 News has reported on the difficulties Baltimore detectives have had in getting crime witnesses to come forward or people who know suspects to send in tips. On Tuesday, city residents voted in favor of Question F, creating a permanent supplemental fund to offer rewards. It passed with nearly 80% of the vote. The reward fund is in addition to existing offers and cannot be used as a replacement. Well, new tonight, video of a fight along MLK Jr. Boulevard shared on Facebook today. It shows several people beating up someone in the middle of the street near Washington Boulevard. City Councilwoman Felicia Porter represents Pigtown and posted a statement to Facebook that her office is working with BPD and adding, quote, "This urgent issue speaks to an emergent need for immediate and long-term strategies between youth and their families, city government, and the Baltimore City public school system."
In Vote 2022 coverage, Governor-elect Wes Moore is starting the process of transitioning to power in Annapolis. And he met with Governor Larry Hogan today to go over his plans to take office.
Our entire administration is going to do everything we possibly can to not only ensure the peaceful transition of power, but to make sure that we can help them get up to speed with whatever information they want.
You know, our teams have already been working closely, and we're already seeing not just how important this is and how seriously the Hogan administration is taking this, but also this is the way it should be. That you know, when the governor is saying that we're going to have a smooth and an orderly transition.
Governor Hogan is also addressing questions about what he plans to do after he leaves office in January. Brad Bell with our Sinclair sister station in D.C. has more on the governor's plans.
Outgoing term-limited Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has been hinting at a presidential run for more than 4 years. At times, such as when he visited the Iowa State Fair in August, he's looked very much like a candidate, all the while claiming he hasn't yet decided. Now, he says the results of the midterm elections offer encouraging signs.
We were wondering if there was a lane for my kind of politics. You know, I've got the most successful governor in America, but it still was a little bit outside of where most of the party was. I think that may have changed yesterday. I think the lane has broadened considerably.
Hogan has positioned himself as a centrist, a re-elected Republican governor in a firmly blue state with an approval rating of around 70%. He's won bipartisan praise for his handling of the pandemic. He's talked tough on crime, has been anti-tax and spend, but has mostly avoided hot-button social issues. He's also been anti-Trump, and the former president has called Hogan a terrible governor. Hogan now says that doesn't seem to matter as much as it did last week.
Nearly all of the kind of strongest MAGA candidates all lost nearly everywhere in the country, and it should have been a huge red wave because of the failures of the Biden administration. It is a real strong lesson for the Republican Party that continuing to double down on failure is not a long-term plan for success. And there's no question I'm going to continue to be a part of the debate and the discussion, and I'm going to continue to do everything I can to get the country and the Republican Party back on the right track.
Now, when asked directly if he's going to run for president, Governor Hogan continues to say what he has said all along, that there will be no announcement until his term ends in January. In Annapolis, Brad Bell, Fox 45 News.
Well, the race for Anne Arundel County Executive is still undecided. Republican Jessica Hare is currently leading Democratic incumbent Stuart Pittman. Anne Arundel County started counting its 50,000 mail-in ballots today. It will take a break tomorrow because of the Veterans Day holiday. And we likely won't know the results of the race for several days, but both candidates say they're optimistic.
We're just going to wait for every vote to be counted, and we're excited to see it.
I'm pretty comfortable that
that we'll end up on top, but it may not be till next week.
Well, nationally, all eyes are on Nevada and Arizona as they tally their votes. In Nevada, Republican Adam Laxalt is in the lead, but Democrat incumbent Senator Catherine Cortez is slowly closing that gap. In Arizona, Democratic incumbent Senator Mark Kelly is holding a lead over Blake Masters. And in Georgia, campaigning underway again for the runoff election scheduled next month after neither candidate scored more than 50% of the vote. Libertarian Chase Oliver believes his Senate run might be to blame.
I think it shows a certain amount of dissatisfaction with the parties in power.
Well, looking ahead to next week, former President Donald Trump is set to make an announcement on Tuesday, and that could be about a 2024 run. An argument between a boyfriend and a girlfriend ends in assault. What happened and how you can help find the suspect in tonight's Maryland's Most Wanted. And new tonight on the late edition, a first look inside Harbor East's renovated movie theater, when it opens and what you'll be able to see on opening night.
And tomorrow may not be a bad movie day, well, unless the kids have to go to school. And that's where we got the rain showers, even some stronger storms in the afternoon with Nicole coming nearby. I'm going to let you know how long the effects last and if it's going to mess up your weekend plans. My Weather Authority forecast.
Well, parts of Florida are drenched right now after Tropical Storm Nicole pummeled the state today. It is now moving across the southeast. The storm made landfall near Vero Beach as a Category 1 hurricane overnight. Multiple homes and businesses collapsed into the ocean after surging water ripped out some of the foundations. Hurricane Ian damaged those buildings just weeks earlier. Well, we'll be feeling some of the effects of the storm here in Maryland in the next few hours. That's why we are on weather alert tonight.
Yeah, we sure are, and looks like we could have some impacts here. It's not going to be what they saw in Florida, but it's a remnant system by the time it gets close to us, and it's already becoming such. Storms start tomorrow, especially in the afternoon. During the morning, we could have some Occasional downpours, though, that develop. There are going to be some gusty winds with some of the showers and maybe even thunderstorms that roll through. And again, that'll especially be later in the day. Could even have an isolated tornado chance, as is typical with these landfalling tropical systems. And you still see the circulation pretty good and well intact right around Albany, Georgia, down to Tallahassee. And what happens with these storms, you see, it kind of is a very distinct half and half, if you will. On the western side, you kind of lopside the heavier rain. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't have problems with flooding and that type of thing, but you don't have as much severe weather. Usually on the eastern side is where you get these bands of feeding in, or they call them feeder band thunderstorms that roll in. It's more sparse precipitation, but when it comes in, it can have some gusto and it can have some severe weather. And we're going to be on that side of the storm into tomorrow. So during tomorrow afternoon, especially, we do have a level 1 of 5 or marginal risk of severe weather, heavy rain, some gusty winds. Those just could be here 20 to 35 miles an hour for a couple of hours. Later tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, as the center of the remnant gets closest to us, but as well with some thunderstorms. There could even be, again, a spin-up tornado, not out of the question. Notice the system down to the south, still marked actually as a tropical storm. Just in the past couple of hours, it did decrease to that tropical depression status. The nice weather we've been seeing going by the wayside, heavy rain, high winds with this. At least the high winds are diminishing, but the heavy rain is still there. And then there's a cold front out to the west, which is going to play a part in the direction of the storm as well. Notice overnight into tomorrow by about midday afternoon tomorrow, this is just a remnant system, but it's putting down the good rains, and especially just north and west of the Blue Ridge Mountains. That's where you get the big totals. 3 to 5 inches. Here in Baltimore, though, it could be about a ½ inch to 1.5 inches of rain that we see. We've been running below average in terms of rainfall, so we could use some rain. You just don't want it all at one time. Marginal risk of severe weather, 1 of 5 risk for tomorrow. Right now, 62, humidity beginning to come up ahead of this cold front that actually is the second portion of everything that's going to pick the system up and eventually move it out. And behind it, boy, it is going to get a lot colder. Look at those teens, 20s, 30s across the Intermountain West. Won't get that cold around here, but we could see at least about a 20, 30 degree temperature drop over what we get tomorrow. Notice the rain in the morning. That moves north, could have some breaks, and then maybe some of the stronger storms rolling in during the afternoon, and then a round of rain through about midnight to 2 a.m. tomorrow night, and then it's out of here. And Saturday is looking a lot better, a lot drier, although there could be a late shower as the actual cold front comes through, and a lot chillier second half of the weekend and into next week.
Well, an argument between lovers ends with a woman in the hospital and a man on the run. Alexa Ashwell has this week's Maryland's Most Wanted.
Gregory Brookins Grant is accused of brutally assaulting his girlfriend during an argument. He's been on the run for the past 1.5 years, and now the U.S. Marshal Service needs your help tracking him down. May 2021, Northeast Baltimore. A couple begins arguing inside their home.
Who are you talking to? Who is texting you? Why are you getting phone calls from somebody?
Questions turning into accusations, and the fight escalating.
This individual actually body slammed her to the ground.
Investigators identifying this individual as 30-year-old Gregory Brookins Grant. They say after punching and slamming the woman to the ground, he leaves the home. As for the victim, she's taken to an area hospital where she details to police what happened. Her family by her side.
They actually got her out of the area for several weeks. They're extremely concerned that this individual is going to come back and hurt her.
A concern that still exists today. The U.S. Marshal Service says in the days and weeks and even months after the assault, the woman received threatening phone calls and text messages.
At first it was apologetic. The victim was not having it, and then it went into threatening text messages and phone calls that he was going to file charges on her for abuse. And then there's also some other random phone calls that came in of threatening language, which the victim believes was Gregory.
Investigators believe this suspect has likely eluded capture with the help of family or friends. The U.S. Marshal Service stressing he must be brought to justice.
The major concern with anything domestic violence related is if it happened once, it can happen again. if it happened bad, it could happen worse. And we want to make sure that there's no other victims out there.
Take a good look. Brookins Grant stands at about 6 foot and weighs approximately 175 pounds. If you have any information into his whereabouts, you have to contact the U.S. Marshal Service, the tip line number right here, 1-877-WANTED-2. Or you can contact agents directly right here, 202-819-5058. Remember, you can always remain anonymous and you could earn a reward. I'm Alexa Ashwell, and this is Maryland's Most Wanted.
Maryland voters have decided to legalize recreational marijuana, but that's not the only thing the law would do. It could potentially clear past convictions for hundreds of thousands of Marylanders. In many cases, the law will automatically clear simple possession charges. The law goes into effect July 1st, but one legal expert we spoke with says you don't have to wait until then.
While it might happen automatically, you can also take an affirmative step. If it's been more than 4 years, you have a conviction of possession of marijuana charge, it likely can come off now.
Experts say you don't need a lawyer to file a petition. Anyone can fill out a form on the Maryland Judiciary's expungement page for a $30 fee. You can find more on that story on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Well, new tonight on the late edition, the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree on the way to the Big Apple. Why this year's journey to New York could be easier than most. And fresh off a win, the Terps got back to work, looking to begin the season 2-0. Highlights from the hardwood ahead on Sports Unlimited.
Kevin Willard is a winner. He proved it with Iona and then Seton Hall. Now he'll look to do the same in College Park. And under their new head coach, Maryland men's basketball, they're already off to a hot start. Terps fresh off a win in their season opener, eyeing a 2-0 start to the year. No slowing this team down tonight. Baltimore's own Julian Reese, the bucket and the foul. He finished with 19 points and 12 boards. His first career double-double. Terps go on to win 71-51. We'll have more from this one coming up tonight. The Washington Commanders organization, it's a complete dumpster fire right now. From claims of a toxic workplace environment to alleged sexual misconduct and harassment, now Washington, D.C.'s Attorney General Carl Racine is suing the team owner Daniel Snyder, the NFL, and League Commissioner Roger Goodell for colluding to deceive D.C. residents.
We've interviewed numerous witnesses, including former team employees who witnessed and experienced the conduct at issue. We reviewed thousands of internal documents produced by the commanders and the National Football League, including emails. What we found, what the evidence overwhelmingly established, what we will prove in court, is clear wrongdoing and violations of D.C. residents' consumer rights.
Well, coming up tonight, two local teams go head-to-head on the hardwood over at Morgan State. Plus, we're talking Roquan Smith in his first game as a Raven when Sports Unlimited returns.
Rocco, thanks. Ahead on the late edition, Mayor Scott releases a Squeegee collaborative plan, how both Squeegee kids and drivers could face penalties under some new guidelines. And despite a mild November, winter is coming. How MDOT is making sure Maryland is prepared for the upcoming snow season. It has been a warm November, but Maryland state transportation officials, they are already looking ahead to winter. It's their job. They have to do it. The State Highway Administration revealed today they're working with a $76 million budget for the snow season. With that budget, they are fully stocked with state-of-the-art supplies and technology to monitor roadway conditions, including 390,000 tons of rock salt and 1.7 million gallons of salt brine. MDOT says they have a dedicated team to help keep Marylanders safe all winter long.
Our team is dedicated to keeping roads open and clearing them as quickly as possible, and they work outside 24/7 during the harshest weather events when most people are inside staying warm.
Well, state officials say they have almost 3,000 pieces of equipment ready to tackle the winter season. By the way, they want you to keep the number #77 in mind. That's how to get roadside assistance during winter months and storms. Well, our team of meteorologists just put out a complete winter forecast. You can find it on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
Everybody, drivers, folks who squeegee, all will be held accountable.
Mayor Brandon Scott releases a plan from the Squeegee Collaborative after months of meetings. What we know and don't know after today's announcement. Governor Hogan and Governor-elect Wes Moore talk about transition in Annapolis, why both parties are optimistic about Maryland's future.
And tracking the next weather maker, the remnants of what was Hurricane Nicole as it brings us rain by tomorrow morning's commute. I'm going to let you know what the biggest threats are and when. My Weather Authority forecast.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News Late Edition.
We have breaking news tonight out of Baltimore County. Police say someone was shot along Tucker Circle in Lansdowne near Riverview Elementary School. They believe the victim is a teenager. He was taken to an area hospital for treatment. Fox 45 News has a crew on the way. We'll bring you updates as they become available. Good evening, I'm Kai Jackson. Mayor Brandon Scott releases the Squeegee Collaborative's plan after more than 4 months of meeting. And here's what we know so far. Citations will be based on a 3-strike system in 6 enforcement zones. Drivers could face consequences if they engage in the practice in those enforcement zones, and squeegee kids will be paid through earn and learn services if they take part in workforce training programs. But parts of the plan are still unclear.
We're now developing protocols, policy, training, so that if and when we have to issue a citation, it would be for the law that's actually on the books about the squeegeeing. That's going to be disallowed. And, then it becomes a matter of what happens if they do it again.
Our team of reporters is breaking down today's announcement, including public reaction and next steps. Mackenzie Frost leads us off with the questions still on the table.
To uncertainty about enforcing the ban and squeegeeing in certain areas, to just how much money these kids will be paid to participate in training programs, there are still a lot of unanswered questions as Mayor Brandon Scott unveils his long-awaited Squeegee Collaborative plan. Just blocks away from one of the most problematic streets.
Now we're all together. Good afternoon, everyone.
Mayor Brandon Scott standing with dozens of others, announcing how he will address Baltimore's squeegee kid problem. Despite speaker after speaker lauding the laundry list of ideas.
I've never been more proud.
We are driven. We just want the guidance.
Questions about how this plan will become reality are mounting, especially the ban itself.
We heard for months and months that the enforcement of the laws were unconstitutional and you were concerned, and now we're seeing it being enforced.
Before you come, Deputy, I'll just want to state for the record that we always enforce the law. We made arrests in the last couple of weeks.
Those arrests include squeegee kids who police say had a loaded handgun or robbed people by stealing their phones, sending themselves cash. Not cited or arrested for breaking the laws on the books banning this activity. The city's deputy solicitor, Ebony Thompson, reiterating the same things we've heard for months.
There can be laws that are constitutional as written, but then in practice unenforceable.
With the ban only in certain areas, it's plausible the kids will simply move to another intersection.
You're always talking about displacement and movement. That's why you heard us all talking about a working, movable plan.
Enforcement begins January 10th, starting with 2 warnings for kids who continue to squeegee before a citation is issued. But even Baltimore Police Commissioner Michael Harrison doesn't know what that citation will be issued for.
What's the citation that they would get?
We're now developing protocols, policy, training.
Another portion of the plan includes what the mayor calls
earn and learn, earn and learn, earn and learn.
Despite the mayor's office originally confirming to Fox 45 News it would be a guaranteed income plan, the Scott administration now saying it's a way for the squeegee kids who commit to stop their activity to get workforce and educational training.
We ensure their success by not giving up on them. That's why they will be connected with a credible mentor, a navigator who will be there through the hard times.
Just to be clear, are there any mechanisms in place in this plan right now that would require them to go through another round of training, or is there anything in place that would say you can't be a part of this program because you said you were going to? We're giving you this training and we're giving you this assistance, but you're still going out on the corners.
Yes. So yes, that actually is explicitly called out in the plan.
Okay.
Where you have to you have to commit to not squeegeeing. This is progressive discipline, right? And so when they do wrong, that's when we check them, and that's when we pull them back in. And so, yes, you might lose your incentive, but that doesn't mean that you're going to lose an opportunity.
The pages of the plan detail connecting the Squeegee kids to community navigators who will hold them accountable. Who those navigators are remains unclear. Just another question in the growing list of uncertainties for the leaders inside City Hall and the partners who have been working on this plan for months, searching for a solution to the problem impacting the city and beyond. The city is putting an initial price tag on this program at $5 million, noting that could change, and it's still unclear just where that money will be coming from. In Baltimore, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Well, we're going to take a closer look at those 6 enforcement zones, those 6 intersections. They include Light in Conway, where Tim Reynolds was shot this summer, right down here, as well as either side of downtown President Street by Little Italy and Harbor East and the 395 MLK Boulevard. That's where the stadiums, the University of Maryland Medical Center is. Also in Northeast and Northwest Baltimore, Sinclair Lane, Northern Parkway spots will be targeted, along with Mount Royal Ave near North Avenue. That's where a lot of people get on 83 from downtown.
Well, Fox 45 News is also asking city business owners and Squeegee kids themselves how they feel about the plan. Keith Daniels has that story coming up in about 10 minutes. Fox 45 is hearing growing opposition tonight to a city council bill that would shorten pension requirements for elected leaders from 12 to 8 years. The measure is moving forward following the passage of Question K, which established term limits for elected leaders.
I bring money to my constituents. Only job I have. I'm working hard. When I leave here, I want to have a pension.
Well, a perspective from Councilmember Robert Stokes is drawing some criticism from Baltimore's police union, calling it an egregious privileged move. For context, the pension requirement for first responders moved up from 20 to 25 years 12 years ago.
I can understand why the firefighters and police are so upset. The message that the people of Baltimore are sending is not you're doing such a good job, you deserve an early retirement. It's you're doing such a bad job that we want you out of office as soon as possible.
Well, the bill faces a final vote before it heads to Mayor Brandon Scott's desk. He hasn't indicated whether he'll sign off. A busy day in Annapolis for Governor-elect Wes Moore, meeting with Governor Larry Hogan to discuss the transfer of power. Moore officially takes office January 21st, and both sides are looking forward to the transition.
Our entire administration is going to do everything we possibly can to not only ensure the peaceful transition of power, but to make sure that we can help them get up to speed with whatever information they want.
You know, our teams have already been working closely. And we're already seeing not just how important this is and how seriously the Hogan administration is taking this, but also this is the way it should be.
When Moore takes office, he'll become the first black governor in Maryland's history and only the third in U.S. history.
Yeah, just a nasty day for tomorrow coming as we eye the remnants of what used to be Hurricane Nicole, actually making landfall on the eastern Florida coastline as the first November hurricane that we've seen make a U.S. landfall since back in 1985. Now it is a shadow of its former self. Just a tropical depression, but we say just, still has a lot of rain, and you can see all these feeder bands of moisture. In other words, some of these showers and thunderstorms and bands moving northbound. That's the part that's going to affect us. Could put down up to about 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of rain locally. And tomorrow's, again, going to be a nasty day. Some localized downpours. That'll be all day long. During the morning and afternoon commute, could even have some potentially damaging wind gusts in association with any thunderstorms that are kind of isolated within some of that rain, especially tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening. And as is the case with landfalling tropical systems, we could even have a spin-up tornado. It's not out of the question. Low chance, but it's there. Now, as we head through the overnight hours, wind's not going to be a problem. But tomorrow, notice in the afternoon and the evening, some of those winds up to about 20, 30 miles an hour in gusts. And we'll see a little blast of some of those winds as some of the rain and some of the thunderstorms come through before it calms down early on Saturday. I'm going to let you know how the rain looks hour by hour on the Future Scan in a couple of minutes.
We're following some breaking news tonight as a federal judge in Texas blocks President Biden's plan to forgive student loan debt. The plan is designed to cancel student debt of up to $20,000 for people making less than $125,000 a year. But the judge ruled the program oversteps congressional power. More than 22 million people have applied for debt relief so far. The program was already on hold as 6 states are actively trying to block it. Kai?
Mary, thank you. Ahead on the late edition, a new program focuses on gun traffic in and out of Baltimore. How social workers are also involved in the plan. Governor Larry Hogan is teaming up with U.S. Attorney for Maryland Eric Barron to implement a surge strategy to combat crime in Baltimore. They're implementing a gun and drug monitoring team on high traffic roads in and out of the city.
If you intend to drive with guns or drugs on a Maryland road, you better think twice. If you are on parole or probation, we may be coming to your home. We hope and expect that you're in compliance, and we're there to help. But if you're not in compliance, you will be held accountable.
Baltimore police and social workers will make unannounced visits to people who are on parole and probation. Coming up, Fox 45 News takes the Squeegee Collaborative's plan to city residents and Squeegee kids themselves. Why it's drawing mixed reaction.
And it's going to be quite a nasty day tomorrow as a remnants of Nicole move through. Could have some heavy rain, even some thunderstorms, some severe weather are going to break it all down hour by hour, minute by minute through your commutes. Weather Authority forecast.
We're going to be putting things up to telling folks so that everyone knows, starting on these days, this is what's going to be happening, and that everybody, drivers, folks who squeegee, all will be held accountable.
Mayor Brandon Scott releases the plan from the Baltimore Squeegee Collaborative. Fox 45's Keith Daniels gets reaction from city residents.
Well, we're at President and Fayette Street, one of those designated no squeegee locations, and tonight, new rules for this hotspot and others across the city. In Baltimore City, the long-awaited results of Mayor Brandon Scott's Squeegee Collaborative released, the city's latest move to resolve the decades-old issue of squeegee kids.
I'm grateful. I'm concerned about their safety as well as the safety of others.
I admire their hustle, but I think it's a beautiful thing because they damaged my truck before.
Part of the plan includes banning squeegeeing along 6 major corridors, including MLK Boulevard near Washington Boulevard.
You can see them from here, yes.
Just a block away from Lauren Tompkins' home. Last week, police spotted 3 suspects who ran and broke into her basement. 3 squeegee kids accused of robbing a Baltimore County couple stopped on MLK.
It was absolutely terrifying. I thought I was going to get shot through my floor.
Tonight, Tompkins' thoughts on the mayor's squeegeeing enforcement plan.
All we're doing is taking a problem and moving it to a different intersection, period. So that's not fair to the rest of the people who pay taxes in the city, is it? No.
Another of the no squeegee zones, Conway and Light Streets, where 19-year-old Khalil says he's been squeegeeing for the past 3 years. Learning now his admitted hustle on this block is being shut down. Good thing, bad thing? What do you think of the plan? He's removing 6 no squeegee zones.
Good thing. Good thing.
And you're a squeegee person.
I think it's a good thing.
Why?
Because it's time for us to elevate above this. Once they put that in effect, it's really time for us to invest our money into what we do personally. Like if you're an entrepreneur, it's time for you to use the money that you make from out here to invest into your business so you can start having your own money to work for yourself.
Khalil's reaction, polar opposite to another squeegee kid who told us last month what he thought would happen should squeegee kids be forced from the streets.
So if y'all stop it, I'm gonna go back to robbing and killing, and there's gonna be a whole lot of crime. So I'm letting y'all know that now.
Well, the city, of course, hoping that does not happen. They say they have services in place in the plan to help those squeegee kids in need. Reporting tonight, Keith Daniels, Fox 45 News.
We are under weather alert for Nicole's local impacts. Now, you remember, Nicole came on shore this morning, landfalling as the first hurricane in November to hit the United States since 1985. It is now a tropical depression, but still, as remnants, we'll see rain develop tomorrow morning's commute, maybe some storms during the afternoon. Could have some gusty winds as well, maybe 20, 35 miles an hour later tomorrow into tomorrow evening. And that's aside from any thunderstorms in the mix that could be around, kind of isolated stuff that could even have a spin-up tornado with them. It's a very slim chance, but it's not a zero chance. And there's going to be, of course, the occasional downpours, too, with the leftover tropical rain. You can still see the storm system making the spin here if we kind of divide it in half. Eastern half, western half. The eastern half is the part that's going to affect us. You can see these bands of thunderstorms associated with it. That is going to be the problem for tomorrow, especially afternoon and evening. These kinds of tropical systems on their eastern sides, as they make landfalls, can sometimes have, again, a spin-up tornado. On the western side, it's a heavy rain, and we're going to miss out on a lot of that, although still an inch or two of rain is possible for some. The nice weather we've been enjoying, it's moving away, and what's moving in is this. It was a tropical storm when this map was put together, but now it's tropical depression with heavy rains. The high winds are beginning to die down, but again, it's the heavy rain, at least kind of blinding downpour is one of the big threats, as well as, again, that isolated severe threat. By tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, as what's left of Nicole moves its way up the southern Appalachians, it kind of gets torn apart, loses its identity, but still will put down anywhere up to about a ½ inch to an inch and a half of rain. Maybe Carroll County could be up to about 2 inches, especially as you get up and over the Appalachians. That's where you'll get a good 3 to 5 inches of rain, perhaps all the way into southern New York State. I guess the good news around here is that we have been running almost an inch and a half below average in terms of rainfall on the fall. So we can handle the stuff that comes down, but it's not going to be pretty commuting. Marginal risk of severe weather, too. That's at level 1 of 5 risk for the entire area. Even a stronger threat down to our south. 62 now, winds out of the east at 3. The dew pointer, the measure of moisture in the air, is coming up. The clouds are increasing, and you're going to start feeling that kind of muggy feel to things as southerly winds kick in ahead of our system, and also easterly winds ahead of our system. Plus, we're going to be ahead of this cold front that's moving in from the west. Hence, the temperatures warming up a little bit today, and they will be warm and kind of sticky for tomorrow as we're on the warm side of the country. That front will interact with our system, with what's left of Nicole, and eventually push it away. And then behind it, wow, teens, 20s, 30s across portions of the west. That will not be the case here, but it will get colder, and significantly so. So going ahead into early tomorrow morning, 4:30 a.m. following the clock, the showers down around D.C. Maybe some heavier downpours just in time for morning commuting, 7:45, 8 o'clock for getting the kids to school. Umbrellas out tomorrow with on and off rain. You see some of the reds, the yellows, the oranges all the way through the p.m. commute. Kind of spotty around the area within the rain. That's that isolated chance of a severe storm all the way through midnight tomorrow night. And then after about 2, 3 in the morning, all moves out and things dry out nicely for Saturday. Until in the afternoon, evening, there could be another round of showers with the actual cold front itself. 56, lots of clouds, late night rain for tonight. Heavy bands of rain, maybe some thunderstorms too for tomorrow. Winds pick up late in the day, at least for a couple-hour period before this all pulls out. 71 for a high there, and then 67 on Saturday. Cools down big time Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week. Kind of have a hard time getting above 50 degrees there.
Jonathan, thank you. This year's Rockefeller Center Christmas tree is en route to the Big Apple. Still ahead, some surprising facts about the star of the holiday show. Hey, here's a look at today's top trending stories. Number 1, the new look Harbor East Cinemas opens tomorrow. The rebranded theater along President Street is showing Black Panther: Wakanda Forever as part of its opening night lineup. It's located right along President Street, replacing Mark Cuban's landmark theaters. Number 2, the iconic Rockefeller Center Christmas tree on its way to New York City, and this time it's from New York. The Norway spruce stands 82 feet tall, and it was donated by a New York City family. It will arrive in the Big Apple Saturday. The tree will be officially lit in Rockefeller Plaza at the end of the month. And number 3, an odd discovery along Florida's coastline as Nicole swept across the state. Ancient human remains were unearthed along a beach near West Palm. Now, the remains are believed to be those of a Native American. Officials say a man walking on the beach saw the bones, then called police to make sure the bones were properly identified and cared for.
The bones will be turned over to historians from some of the universities around here, and they will make sure they are properly respected and preserved, for history.
It is actually the 3rd time bones have been discovered on that coastline after a hurricane. Well, the Kevin Willard era has gotten off to a hot start. Terps welcoming Western Carolina to town, looking to keep it rolling in College Park. Rocco's next. Well, that's all for us in the late edition. I'm Kai Jackson. As we go, we want to wish Richard Wilson, our talented director here at Fox 45, well as he moves on to a new job. Richard, we love you and we wish you the absolute best. Now, here's Rocco DeSangro with Sports Unlimited, and Rocco would like to wish Richard well as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, you're right, Kai. Couldn't have said it any better. We wish Richard the best in his new journey. Well, new year, new faces, and a new start after suffering its first loss. Losing season, rather, since 92-93, Kevin Willard was hired as Maryland's head basketball coach. He led the Terps to a win in Game 1. Could he do the same in Game 2? No slowing this team down tonight. Baltimore's own Julian Reese. He went to work early and often. This right here, just the start of a big night. Going to work in the post, that's too easy right there. Terps led by 17 at the half, second half. It's Reese again, the bucket, the foul. He finished with 19 and 12, his first career double-double. Dante Scott hails from the city of brotherly love. Showing no love at all to the Catamounts with the vicious slam. Terps get the win 71-51. They host Binghamton next Tuesday night. Towson men's 1-0 on the year. Tigers on the road against UMass. Nick Timberlake was getting it done on both ends of the court. The preseason first-team All-CAA selection just out here hooping. First with the dunk, then with the block. Get it out! He finished the night with a career-high 27 points, 3 steals, a block, and 5 boards. Tigers get the win, 67-55. Women's basketball action over at Hill Fieldhouse. Morgan State hosting Loyola. Greyhounds with the lead early on. Lex Terry, and a big reason for that, knocking down the elbow jumper here off the inbounds. Greyhounds, they're going to feed the hot hand. Terry lays it up and in. She finished with 20 points and 13 boards. But here come the Bears. Charlene Shepard off the first. On with the second, gets the offensive board, puts it up and in. Big night for Janiyah Henson as well. She led all scorers with 22, and the Bears get the win, 59-50 the final score. Here's a look at some of the other scores. Loyola men's basketball falls to Penn State 90-65. Morgan State beats Penn State Greater Allegheny 130-49. UMBC men beat Penn State York. A lot of Penn State teams in here, 92-65. UMBC women fall to Virginia 101-46. So Roquan Smith had less than a week to get settled in Charm City and learn as much as he possibly could of the Ravens playbook before playing a game with his new team. Could have fooled me. Smith made his Ravens debut on Monday Night Football against the Saints, totaling 5 tackles. Probably his most notable moment was right here in the first half. Back-to-back stops, stuffing Alvin Kamara twice to force a 4th down, and showing everybody why the Ravens went out and traded for him at the deadline.
What a great job he did to come in and learn the defense so quickly. I mean, he had no issues out there at all as far as knowing what to do. And then all of a sudden, you know, he's flying around and he makes a couple plays, and, you know, other guys kind of feed off of that just a little bit. And your defense is that much better. And when you have one guy playing well, I think it has an exponential effect kind of to everybody else. So it kind of grows. I was looking forward to seeing how we looked out there with Roquan out there. And, you know, man, I'm pretty fired up the way it looked.
So from one John to the other, that was John Harbaugh talking. When John Means is healthy, he's one of the best pitchers on the Orioles staff. But that wasn't the case in 2022. Staying healthy was the issue. The Birds lefty underwent Tommy John surgery in early May, ending his season shortly after it began. About 3 weeks ago, Means resumed throwing, which is a big step in his recovery. Today, the O's reinstated him off the 60-day IL, and they have high hopes for him again in 2023. Well, that's all for this edition of Sports Unlimited. I'm Rocco DeSangro. Thanks for watching, and have a great night.